Hey there, welcome back to New Eyes Open. Showing up again another day for me, showing up again for you, and encouraging you to show up for yourself, whatever that looks like in this season of life. And when I came out here today to record this video, I at first couldn't think of, as always, like, what is the topic for today? And as I closed my eyes and sat here, the word gratitude just kept circling around. And then the other thing that was circling around was clarity, and how oftentimes clarity equals less is more. Saying one clear thing instead of the whole storyline that goes along with that one clear thing, which my thing is storytelling, and so the whole storyline is often what I do. But today I think I'm going to keep this short and sweet and simple, let you get back to your Friday, and just talk about gratitude, because that's what keeps coming up. I am so very grateful for this week, the way that it has rolled out. I am so grateful for today. It's actually raining right now, which is not normal around here. And so very grateful for the rain, which is such a different perspective than the one that, when I was growing up and in school, it's like, oh, rain, 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 go away. No, no, rain, we like rain. So I'm grateful for that. And one of the things that goes along with what we've been talking about, or what I've felt like sharing with you recently about this week that I am grateful for, is the way that I have felt going through this week. In years past, especially like pre-2019, but even in the last, several years, if my week was packed with a bunch of to-do items, or if I had a new project I was taking on and there was a lot of deliverables and calls to show up to and things like that, my nervous system would tend to get very amped up. And I would live in this like constant state of my stomach feeling like it was just knotted up into balled up fists, which is a great image for how I would just outburst. I would burst out at anybody reactively in a moment's time, more so pre-2019 than post-2019. But it was just like this pent up, what's coming next, bracing for the next thing kind of energy. And this whole entire week has not been that way. And I am so incredibly grateful for that. I can't even begin to tell you what a change that is. And I know for a fact that I can chalk it up to several things, but the number one thing being allowing my body to rest and to get back into alignment over the last 3 years, and it just not forcing it to push through and strive and do these things that, I mean, in all honesty, I didn't even have access to try to make it do. Like, it just kind of shut down. So on the other side of burnout and recovery and learning how to breathe through the tension of life, breathe through the heartaches, breathe through the migraines, breathe through any of the friction that comes up. And lately, one of the things the past 2 months that's really been alive in my world is breathe through and learn how to recognize the mind junk that wants to get my attention. Those negative looping thoughts that are actually not real. Okay, be careful of what your thoughts. Don't ever believe what you think 100%. That has been my experience, because oftentimes they are limiting beliefs or negative beliefs from a past time that are trying to work their way out of your life. and breathing through them and recognizing them for what they are, accepting them for what they are, allowing them to be, allowing yourself to feel what needs to come up with those thoughts, but not attached to the storyline that those thoughts would typically, in the past I would have attached to, and just would have caused the anxiety spiral or the depression spiral to just, go down, down, down the drain. And yeah, learning to breathe through that, and just, there's a whole new level. I've often been told by people that I have a calming presence that's coming from other people, not from me. And a lot of times I'd be like, I wish I felt that way about myself. But lately I do feel calm and grounded, and like my internal state is finally catching up to the vision of who I really am, or who I want to evolve into, and the vision that other people see in me from the outside, which has always been an interesting paradox to me, that I have often felt very different than what I am perceived to be as far as my state goes. And a lot of that is because I just got really good at faking it till I made it, making it by faking it, and really good at numbing out, stuffing things down so far that they didn't faze me. I was cool as a cucumber because nothing was actually accessible. And the difficult part about that is that means if none of your emotions are accessible, then that's the good and the bad. Like, you have a hard time really feeling the joy in the moments of your life if you're also trying so hard not to feel the anger and the sadness and the grief. There's also, that was a lot of the last several months, is just allowing myself to go through the grieving process of many things that I did not actually grieve when they happened, for multiple reasons. Because I just didn't know how, number one. Number two, because there wasn't time for that. I had, kids to take care of, and had to get, make money, put food on the table. I was the one that everybody was depending on. The other reason is just that independence I talked about yesterday, and seeing grief and actually allowing myself to truly grieve fully seemed very vulnerable, and that vulnerability would have required me to ask for help and to receive help, and that was not aligned with the independent image that I had of myself, and of who I was trying to be at the time. And so it has been really, really wonderful to have a very full and packed week of things that in the past would have caused anxiety. I definitely felt some, not anxiousness for anxiousness sake, but excitement. And I could tell a difference. And it was easy to breathe through that. I have tools now for, like, okay, I'm really excited about this, but this task that I want to get to and feel pressure to get to, actually, I take that back. I didn't feel pressure. Like, I was excited to get to. I didn't feel the pressure to, like, give into that excitement. I was okay with shutting the laptop down at a certain time and waiting until tomorrow to continue the task or to tackle that particular task. And so, yeah, just super grateful. And I would love, love, love to hear what you're feeling grateful for this week. And I want to also share that this whole journey started with me, my entire life shifting, just I don't know how else to say it, quantum leaping in multiple areas of my life. Yeah, really beginning this path of alignment and being able to live aligned to who I really am and who I always wanted to be, and the dreams that I've held in my heart for so many years of my life has it started back in 2017 when I broke my finger, um, and knew that something had to change, something's got to give. And the two first things that changed was I made a commitment to show up for myself. And back then it looked like just getting up and showing up in silence, sitting by myself in silence, and allowing myself to truly just have those 5 minutes of being before my day began. Get myself centered and have some calm. Start my day with calm. That was me showing up for myself back in 2017 when I knew things needed to change. And then very quickly on the right on the tail end of that, the book, I think it's 10,000 Gifts by Ann Voskamp came into my world. And also I'm actually getting ready to reread her book, The Broken Way. And that's the 10,000 Gifts book is all about being in this state of thanksgiving all the time, like always giving thanks. And, you know, the practice that she recommended people get into is throughout the day, make a list of things that you're grateful for, from the tiniest thing, like the way a ray of sun, you know, feels when it hits your face as you look out the window, like that kind of thing, itty bitty thing. When you hear a giggle from your children and it warms your heart, notice that, like be grateful for that. And so I started the silence, starting my days with 5 minutes of silence, and keeping a running tally of gratitudes. And at first I just started doing it in my mind, and the further I got into the book, the more she recommended, you know, many, many times in the book, to keep a journal, start a gratitude journal. And so I started doing that. At first, it was just at the end of the day, I would write down as many of those moments as I could think. And then later, I started trying to just write them down, even if it wasn't all captured in one journal, write them down somewhere, like wherever I was. So at the time when I was a teacher, it was writing them down on my desk calendar. And, you know, recording them there, recording them in my journal in the morning and in the evening. And so just developing this habit of gratitude. And I can really see how that accelerated things changing in my life. And so it is something that has stuck with me. You know, I've gone in and out of it being a habitual practice. I have actually kept full-on gratitude notebooks, you know, since then, but not consistently. You know, there's been seasons where I felt like it was needed, and so I'd be consistent for that season. And I think that's perfectly fine. I'm all about live within the season you're in. I don't feel like, just like nature, nothing is the same all the time. You know, there are seasons for compost, there are seasons for being dormant, there are seasons for growth, there are seasons for harvest. You are nature as well. And so allow yourself to live within the season that you're in. So if this is a season that's calling you to actually write down gratitudes, great. If it's a season that you are just being mindful of the things you're grateful for throughout the week and throughout the day, and then sharing them on a Friday afternoon to whoever ends up landing on this video, so be it. So wherever you're at right now, however you're being called to show up for yourself, I encourage you to do so. And if you need any support with that, feel free, put it in the comments so that Everybody else that sees them knows to give you a little thumbs up, attaboy, attagirl, keep going, and cheer you on from the sidelines. All right. If this resonated, I would love to hear where you're at. I covet your likes, follows, shares, subscribes, all the YouTube-y things, and I thank you in advance for any and all of that. And most of all, I hope that you go into your weekend feeling rested and full of gratitude that you have air in your lungs and therefore a life to live. Make the most of it. Show up for it. Show up for yourself. And until Monday, be well, my friends.